Yo.
All right.
RV, you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Okay. Then I guess we'll get started. I will introduce you guys. RV is one of the oldest members on the server. I think he's currently a Proud Boy. RV, are you still Proud Boy? I can't remember.
I am.
And Vosh is, the king of BreadTube. Really cool guy.
I'm a proud boy too. I'm very proud to be a boy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. At least we got some common ground.
I want to thank you both for showing up. And yeah, for agreeing to have this hosted on the server. What a lot of people are really excited to listen to you talk. If you're watching Vosh's stream, you want to hop into the server too, discord.gg/politics. That'll get you here. And you guys, RV, you can start whenever you're ready.
Cool. What's up, Vosh? How are you, bro?
I'm doing great. Okay, so I have no idea what this is going to be about, so I'm going to need you to take the lead, okay? It's like we're dance partners and you're taller than me, all right?
Oh, that's very sexy. Okay, so what we're going to do is I just want to go, first of all, I want to thank the community. I love this community. Been in a long time. Doobie's awesome. Shout out to Pickle for pissing everyone off. Yeah, so love the community. Glad you're here. I saw the video on Tom. I saw the cringe reaction, whatever you did. And a couple of things occurred to me while I was watching it.
Yeah.
Just as it relates to the culture surrounding like his message, the general, let's say, political science, spectrum that he's engaging with when he makes his content and all this. And, I just wanted to like maybe, harken down on a few points. At one point when you were looking at this video, I noticed that, and this was my biggest problem, right? So I'll just start with my biggest issue. My biggest bone to pick was, outside of basically sort of your inferences and whatever, that's fair. You have a mind, you're free to form your inferences. But you said that basically his lyric, as it related to, and I have no issue referencing them directly. Basically, you have the right to hate it and not get stoned to death in public. You remember this lyric from Fake Woke?
Yes.
Right. I just want to clarify something. When he makes this line, when he says this line, it's actually explaining that it's actually explaining the difference, like what I felt you just didn't understand. Like I kind of came into this, I was thinking about this, the past day. I was like, yeah, maybe we'll have a conversation or a debate. So I don't know, maybe where we'll go here. Like you said, we're dance partners. Who knows what the dance will turn into. But I noticed that this line explains actually that freedom of speech to criticize the government is sanctified, right? So like the line is, because you have the right to say it and not get strung up in public. Shortly before that, you had commented how like he was essentially saying, listen, you should be proud to be American. This means you're not going to criticize what you said was the government being American. I guess you were sort of extrapolating that what he meant was the people are the government, which I agree to an extent. Yes, the people, the government comprises of the people. Yes. But, we're ashamed to be American. You should probably love it because you have the right to say it and not get strung up in public. And then the correction, right, and the unedited, because you have the right to hate it and not get stoned to death in public. This is actually, just to be clear, this is actually him delineating between the government and the people. That's all that was. And so that I'll throw it to you. I want to hear what you think of that. I actually have to answer the door briefly, but go ahead. I have you in my ears.
Yeah, okay. So I like freedom of speech. I'm not impugning him for saying that's a right that we should celebrate. I just don't like, the line specifically says, we're ashamed to be American. You should probably love it because you have the right to say it and not get strung up in public. And what this essentially comes off as is like, don't criticize the United States because you live in a country where it's legal for you to criticize the United States. It's a really, really common conservative talking point where they say, our country is special because you have the freedom to criticize the government and say whatever you want, but don't you dare actually criticize the government, because if you do that, then you're spurning your right to do so, which I think is ridiculous. Obviously, freedom of speech, the number one reason we have freedom of speech is to protect unpopular speech, and nothing gets more unpopular than substantive criticisms of the government and the people who live inside of it. That's what we should be protecting more than anything else.
Right, but here's the thing, like either lyric, right? The more raw one where it's a criticism of Islam, yes, it is. But yeah, because you have the right to say it and not get strung up in public. Well, he's saying you have the right to say you're ashamed to be American and not get strung up in public.
Well, sure. I
I
mean, there are plenty of other countries where you can say that you don't like. First of all, I don't think many people are actually ashamed to be American. I think that many people have criticisms of the government, and then conservatives turn that around and say, you're ashamed to be American. Because when you do that, you frame it as some sort of personal emasculation, some personal deficiency, rather than a substantive criticism of the country that you live in. I don't know why anyone would be ashamed of the country that they were born in. But yeah, I think that criticizing the government, even fundamentally, like the state, not just the current government, but the state itself, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a just thing. In fact, it was that mentality that led to us being a country to begin with. I don't know why some people are so sensitive over it. This America love it or leave it tendency. It's one of the most reactionary, anti-patriotic things I could imagine.
But I also feel like as a Canadian, right? And maybe this is just my inference, but I feel like as a Canadian, him being domestically raised as a Canadian, I think he was in Vancouver too, like the West Side, which is arguably a lot more, let's say, in a lot of ways, a lot more liberal in a lot of ways, and in some ways not. And it's kind of nuanced in Canada and Canadian culture. But I'm going to say, given his context, given he's the guy issuing this criticism, I don't think it was the sort of, I know what you're saying. I'm not going to sit here and say that doesn't exist, that reactionaries or reactive people don't use that type of language or whatever. But in this context, he's literally saying, like, you have the right to say, I fucking hate this place. And people aren't going to condemn you and put you to death for it. Maybe condemn you, ostracize you. I get you. Okay, you're going to say, well, there's ostracization. There are, let's say, consequences for your exercise of your first. Absolutely there are. However, there's no compulsion under law to not criticize the government. And I think Tom was saying that that's one of the things that we should be proud of.
Well, we can be happy about it, sure. I don't think it's something to be proud of. I didn't have anything to do with the writing of the Constitution. But okay, if so, you watch my video. If you thought from my video, what you took away from it was that I don't think freedom of speech is something worth celebrating, that's definitely not the message that I was trying to impart. The entire song, all of its lyrics, you say maybe this could be reactionary. The song's reactionary. Almost every line is some rebuke of some progressive. I mean, look at this. So we have Cardi B, role model for 12-year-old girls. If I mention race in a song, I'm scared I'll get killed for it.
Right.
Eminem doesn't want fans who voted for Trump label everything we say as homophobic or racist. Cancel culture runs the world now. All of our childhood heroes got Me Too'd or the rapist. Like the whole, that's like just the first stanza. Like the whole song is like complaining about the woke mob.
We can go through each, so I know in one part, right, that one of those that you just noted, yes. If I mention race in a song, I'm scared I'll get killed for it.
What does he want to mention that he thinks would get him killed? Like, what commentary does he have on race that he thinks would lead to that kind of retaliation?
As an example, he got death threats for the song White Boy, which is essentially a song talking about how, the average working class, poor white person growing up in this rhetorical period suffers, let's say, at the rhetorical behest of the majority or even the minority. It really depends on where you are. It depends on, what situation you're in. But he has a song where, indeed, he's talking about this. So I think all he's saying is that when you mention race, people infer like the most nefarious things, of course. Like
isn't the White Boy song literally just him complaining about reverse racism the whole time? Also, I think like major musicians get death threats racism all the time. I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure like if you're a major public figure, you're going to get death threats pretty much no matter what you do. I don't know. I feel like saying worry to talk about race in my songs because I'm going to get killed for it implies either that he has some heinous shit to say or that like the woke cancel mob will kill his career for what? I mean, I'm looking at this White Boy lyrics now. It just seems really defensive. Like, I'm not scared or guilty to be white. I'm not afraid of being white. I didn't put anyone to noose, etc., etc. It seems like this kind of defensiveness, this fragility, is a really common tendency amongst conservatives, and it prevents us from advancing racial discourse,
But see, I actually think it's a barrier to it. And let me explain why. I think it's a barrier to advancing racial discourse because I can relate.
Wait, what's a barrier?
Well, assuming or presuming or inferring or what have you, that in fact what Tom is doing is a reactionary defensive trope, when in fact I think he's voicing very honest feelings that people, that in fact, if you were to take it, in fact, I may even make this case, if you were to take white boy and replace it with any like race, the idea, the content of the lyrics, it's not so unubiquitous. It's something a lot of humans relate to. It is ever present. It's something we all sort of, we judge, we weigh. Insecurity is a human emotion. Apprehension is a human emotion. These are things that people have. I'm just saying, I don't know that he's creating barriers. I think if anything, that's one of the people that can help break down the barriers and get people to talk about these issues.
Tom MacDonald's perspective is on like Black Lives Matter, just perchance.
Well, what do I think?
What
In my
I'm
heart of
looking
hearts,
at,
I think he thinks that it's an identitarian movement with authoritarian ends.
Right. Yeah.
But
this is what I like. Racial discourse is not going to be solved by white boys making songs where they complain about being persecuted for being white, or where they infer that there's some mob of hatred being directed against white people for being white. Like, this is fundamentally a reactionary tendency. I don't even know if I feel like I'm looking at the white boy lyrics right now. I feel like these would be too much even for like a black guy writing a song about black struggle, you know? Like if one of them made a song and it was this like straightforward, this just up front, I feel like even that would get mocked, you know? But then it's a white guy doing it. So it's like,
well, but I am aware of quite a few different songs in which there is such a like a good a good musician or a reference for that is Brand Nubian. They tend to rap about, you know, the Malcolm X ultimacy and all of this type of thing, and they're actually considered grassroots OGs to the culture, right? Brand Nubian it comes from Be Real and Underground Kings, and way back in the late '80s, these guys have always talked black supremacy. That was the whole thing that Nick Cannon was on. I don't even mind that. I don't care if they want to be on that. That's their thing.
Well,
it's
I'm not a
my
big
issue.
Nick Cannon got canceled for the bullshit that he was saying, didn't he?
Right, but you could see how, or I would hope, maybe you cannot. One may be able to see, if they can adopt my perspective for a moment, that Tom is actually talking about race being a negative inference or a negative jumping off point for people to form inferences about the world. I think what Nick Cannon got canceled for was actually saying that the inferences formed, he was suggesting that bigoted inferences ought be formed. I don't think what Tom is ultimately suggesting in this lyric or in this song altogether is that a bigoted inference ought be formed. I think he's actually saying that bigoted inferences are useless and silly.
Well, no, but that's one of the ways that you perpetuate these systems. So I'm not comparing him to Nick Cannon, because Nick Cannon is like an open, out and about bigot. I'm not trying to make that direct comparison. But what I'm saying is when we're talking about an era of like virtually unprecedented civil rights mobilization with regards to black-white relations in the United States, and you have people like Tom MacDonald who are making songs like White Boy, which is like, hey, I'm white, people hate me because I'm white, but you shouldn't, okay? You should just hate racists, not white people. That kind of defensiveness implicitly suggests to its audience that there is this movement of people who hate white people. Now, there are leftists who are pretty fucking cringe when it comes to their like race relation takes, and some of them do unironically dislike white people, but it's this conservative line. It's the all lives matter line right there. It's like, okay, sure, you know, black people, they had it bad, maybe they still have it bad, fine, but all lives matter, you know, like, hey, you know, don't leave us out. And that narrative obfuscates the actual underlying issue here, which is that we live in a pretty white supremacist country, and every time we try to address that, there are people who come out trying to like give the defensive like white boy take, you know?
I mean, I don't think that it's supreme. I don't think there's a supreme notion, man. Like that's kind of where I am going, is that I don't know that Tom is coding. Like, in fact, like, just to quote you, and I don't want to remove context. So if you want to add context, please do. I'm not trying to take out of context. I'm really not.
No worries.
Demographic replacement of minorities. What I have in my notes, and I'll just read you from my notes. I said, no, race is just at present a very sensitive and very hyperpolarizing, politically propagandized issue. I mean, and I feel like your inference of demographic replacement of minorities as like his under the surface hidden subtext is, I just think it's incorrect. I don't think it's because you're an evil person. I don't think it's because you have bad intent. I think it's just that I think this is the
demographic replacement of minorities.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. This is to quote you. You actually mentioned that. You said, wait, does he mean it? I think that was how you said, like, you were questioning, does he mean this in the video?
I'd need to
Yes,
see which
like
line that was a reference to.
it was in reference. 1 second. It was in reference to the. Hold on. The line where, but if I mention race in a song, I'm scared I'll get killed. Right. Shortly after you sort of address this in the video, I think like 15 seconds or so, like right in there, you say, does he mean demographic replacement of minorities, or what's he allude? Kind of what you said, like either he means something very nefarious or he's just engaging in a trope. But I'm offering you a third solvency to it, which is that he's probably denoting what I said, that race right now is a very propagated issue. And I think your inference accurately illustrates
why
that.
do you think he got death threats for this for the first song? It's not just that race is like...
Because it involves race.
Well, no, it's not just because it involves race. Tons of stuff involves race. It's because he has a conservative perspective on race. That's the reason why he gets blowback for this stuff. I mean, like, look, like down the line, like I asked earlier kind of facetiously what he thinks of Black Lives Matter. Here's a line from the song. I think Black Lives Matter was the stupidest name when the system's screwing everyone exactly the same. Like, okay. I mean, if you believe that, you're pretty much completely precluding the idea that there's any kind of necessary black struggle.
That's a pro-working class majority argument, right?
That's the shit Ben Shapiro says when he wants to pretend racism isn't real, and then he goes back to not caring about class issues. That's a very common conservative line, where they'll talk about racism, and then it'll be like, oh, no, that's class bias. And then it's like, okay, what do you want to do about class bias? And they don't want to do anything about class bias. In reality, they just want to divert the claim away from the race issue. And if you talk about class bias and racial inequality along those lines, they'll usually talk about like black culture or something like that. But if you follow that line down, they'll say that it was just a magical change in cultural perspectives that emerged for no particular reason that's hurting the black community, and that if you actually want to address it, you just have to tell black people to pull up their bootstraps, and then they'll be able to participate in the same level as everyone else. So it is or isn't a racial issue, depending on whether or not the conservative wants to actually like wrestle with the argument, you know? But I think that's a bullshit line. The system is not screwing everyone exactly the same. There's tons and tons of ways black people get especially shafted, you know?
I mean, I disagree, but I think that what Tom, we can go down to. I want to just move to the Photoshop thing, because this denotes another thing. At one point, right, you go, is this real? Did they Photoshop his nose wider? The only reason I noted this was because I actually counterintuitively noticed how kind of bigoted that was. Like, and I'm not trying to attack you. I noticed that it was quite bigoted to note that, like in Tom's picture, right, he has a picture for a song called "If I Was Black." In professional graphic design, there's a thing called a morphograph. They do it all the time. They do it in like tabloids, especially clickbait. And basically, what you do is you morph two images together, right? You blend through a series of blending and layering, etc. In this image for his cover, right? Yeah, he did do like a morphograph of a black guy and himself. And I just noticed, I was like, that's interesting that you noticed that like his nose was wider, but that like in fact, I mean, they just took a half of a black guy and a half of Tom, and it was just a weird comment. I was like, wait a minute, they photoshopped his nose wide. No, they didn't. They morphed two completely separate people together.
Well, the image editing led to him having a wider nose than Tom actually has, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a wider nose. Black people tend to. I mean, it is a pretty weird album cover, right? It's like,
I mean, I don't think so. I think he had. I mean, actually, that guy is an artist from Vancouver. The guy he had on there. So that's an artist he collaborates with.
If I was a conservative anti-BLM white guy and I made an album or song, whatever, called "If I Was Black," and I like face mixed my face with a black guy, I don't know. I think it's weird. I wasn't trying to imply any like animus to the proportions demographically of black people. It's just interesting to me that that's the direction they went with to symbolize his mixed race transition,
Okay.
I
just noticed that.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a little odd personally. I don't know. It reminds me of photos that are perhaps a little less charitable to black people that I've seen on the internet. It just reminds me of like meme photos, but it doesn't have to inherently be like a racist thing.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, and I just noticed that. I was like, yeah, it's kind of ironic just because tone and stuff. But the one of the last ones too was what is it? Here we go. Cancel culture runs the world now. The planet went crazy. Like everything we say as homophobic or racist. If you're white, then you're privileged, guilty by association. All of our childhood heroes got Me Too'd or they're rapists.
Yeah, that was a pretty weird thing there.
Right. No, tell me what you think is weird about it. I don't want to take all that. Go ahead. What, like I said, I don't even want to take you out of the context of a video. If you're right here, right now, and you can tell me what, like now, you thought, what you think is particularly odd about it.
Yeah, cancel culture doesn't run the world now, and not everything gets labeled as homophobic or racist. So right off the bat, that's some like crybaby conservative, I don't like consequences for my actions bullshit. If you're white, then you're privileged. That's true. So, but he's lining that up in a way to sort of indicate how crazy the world is. And then he says guilty by association, which is not true. So he's juxtaposing, he's combining the belief that white people are privileged and that white people are guilty. But those are two very, very, very different things. And then
yes, but really quickly, I want to just pause you there. If you extrapolate from that line, like especially in the context of rap, where they make, where short statements mean a lot. Let's just say that way: triple or double, quadruple entendres, etc. Guilty by association as a general trope right now. Well, I mean, yes. Like for instance, I've literally heard this in this Discord from people here, moderators and users alike, that my wife's Mexican, and in fact, she's a self-hating, complicit white supremacist. Like, yeah, this, but if you go online, that might be what he's talking about.
If you go online, you can find people saying literally anything. Like, you can find any group of people online and manufacture any narrative you want. But when you're Tom MacDonald and you have a pretty large public platform and you're talking about the world, he's saying the world now, not like Discord servers, then putting white people are privileged next to white people are guilty and like complaining about cancel culture. This is meant to be an indictment of the state of the world right now, not just like little pocket communities online.
Yes, and I agree. I'm glad you. Okay, yes, because I was going to say that about the next line, right? All of our childhood heroes got Me Too to the rapist, but you just accurately denoted it. Yes, it is just a statement on like the sort of the abysmal, lugubrious state of the world. Yes.
Yeah, I hope that this is. I hope he doesn't have a problem with this last line, because the other things that the previous two lines, he's complaining about it. Label everything we say as homophobic or racist, or if you're white, then you're privileged, guilty by association. So these two lines right here, these are lines of things he disagrees with. He's listing out reasons he thinks the world went crazy. But the last line is, all our childhood heroes got Me Too to the rapists. So I don't know what he's implying here. Is he suggesting that these things happened and they should have happened, but they're still a symptom of the world going crazy? Or is he suggesting that the Me Tooing and the alleged raping are like wrong, and that
he's saying they're reflections of the ethics of the people we were brought up with as influences?
That if that's the case, then I guess there's nothing inherently wrong, but the juxtaposition of these lines really makes it seem like he's saying the world's gone crazy, dude. All these people are getting Me Too'd or they're rapists. Like I feel like I can see him doing the finger quotes,
Okay, fair enough. But I thank you for saying it's like, yes, I think he actually is making just a hey, yeah, dude, all those people we looked up to when we were kids, they either were victims or victimizers. Like that was my takeaway.
Well, I'm glad we had the Me Too movement, right? I mean, it's better that this be made public than that all the abuse goes unaddressed, right?
Dude, I was happy about the Me Too movement when it started. I was not happy about it when it metastasized into like an accusation contest, but I was happy to see people in their corporate. Oh, you don't think it metastasized into like a whoever's the loudest, whoever repeats it the most sort of thing?
No. What do you mean? I mean, there are always going to be allegations that are less substantiated than other ones, but I think for the most part, usually the big name accusations, they tend to be fairly substantiated.
Oh, sure. The biggest, absolutely. Well, generally. But there's a lot that aren't. There are a lot of, accusations floating around as a result of Me Too. I'm not saying that they aren't true. They could very well be true. I'm not saying they're not.
What's the issue with them? Like, wait, then how is that bad?
Because they could not. And so false accusations impugn the character and reputation of people in society, and they further balkanize and divide the society.
But how do you know they're false accusations if you don't know whether they're correct or not?
Well, that is just the point, right? That's why we have law, right?
Yeah, but you can't. The law involves outing abusers. That's part of the process.
Correct. Right? Yes. And I think women should out their abusers.
Yeah, well, so I don't see any evidence that this has turned into some disingenuous cancel culture rampage. It seems like while not every allegation is going to be substantiated, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's false, Like,
okay, all right, let me ask you this. Would you say that to any degree there has been any weaponization of the Me Too movement, or that's something you cannot?
No, sure, I'm sure. Of course, I'm sure there are instances of people uh, invoking the Me Too movement disingenuously, but that's going to be the case for any social movement under any circumstances.
Sure.
But I think it's generally been pretty positive, right? But you said it metastasized, like the whole thing turned into cancer. You didn't say like, well, maybe hypothetically amongst millions of people, maybe a few people have used it disingenuously, you know?
Yeah, because I don't know the scale. Sure, speculatively, it could have been just a few. It could also be a big problem. I don't really know. I was very happy to see a lot of these corporate people answer for it, though. Yes, because to say that there hasn't been a corporate culture of passive, complacency with this kind of thing. Yeah, okay, exactly, and that varies company to company and blah blah blah. Yes, it's about time these bosses answered for the things they've done. I was always on board with that.
It needs to be a broader cultural change, too, because the problem is most sexual assault or harassment or rape cases turn into he said, she said, which is legally tricky for a number of reasons. So what you really want to do is normalize opposition to sexual abuse in a corporate culture, because that prevents these incidences from cropping up in the first place. The fewer people are willing to be complicit, the less likely it is that people in power will take their chances at abusing another person.
No. Well, I generally agree with that. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, conservatives complain about Me Too all the time. I remember the conservative panels where they say, like, men are afraid to be alone in rooms with women. It's like, fuck.
Well,
imagine how the woman feels.
Right. I got you. No, listen, there's plenty of social science as to, this is why I'm a big advocate of women in the Second Amendment, man. This is why.
Not a great solution in an office building, though, probably.
Sure. But it's a great solution if in that office building, that man is going to do something very horrible to you.
Well, I'm principally extremely in favor of women being able to carry firearms. I don't know if they'd be allowed on like the office grounds, but
I'm a big carry. I think they should be allowed to carry. I think everyone should be allowed to carry. I think the more armed people, the safer. But we probably don't agree on that.
Anyway, yeah. So just this. I take issue with this whole damn song. There are individual lyrics in the song that if you're very charitable, you can interpret them positively, but the overall message of the song just feels like pretty reactionary or pretty misinformed. It feels almost like it's meant to fearmonger, almost. Like somebody's supposed to listen to this and think like, yeah, the world's going crazy, they're all coming after us, soon it'll be illegal to be a straight white man. The Biden feminizing drones will come after me and inject me full of hormones from 60 yards away. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe that I get from this.
Mass femboy conversions. Here we go. Right. Well, let me dial in on here. The only other, one of the few has a daughter, but his favorite. I felt this one in the heart when he has a daughter, but his favorite artist says he slays hoes, picks her up from school, music slaps on the way home. And again, I think you had just sort of iterated it was a clumsy line. I actually just disagreed in saying I think it was one of my favorite lines in the whole fucking song. I think illustrating the hypocritical nature of the culture at large is a good thing. I think people need to be reminded to be humbled. I think people need to understand that they can't set unrealistic expectations of themselves.
Well,
I think
what's the hypocrisy there?
Well, I don't know that it's the most appropriate thing to, like, let's say, hypothetically listen to Stan, the unedited version of Stan by Eminem with, your 5-year-old daughter on the way to school at 7:30 in the morning, right? That could have, or likely does have, let's say, a tenably negative effect on the way that person perceives certain cultural things, correct?
Sure, maybe. I'm not familiar with the song. I mean, Eminem was pretty homophobic back in the day, right? So,
right. In Stan, he depicts tying someone up. He ties up his wife and throws her into the water while she's in the trunk alive. The insinuation is she drowns to death, and he, good riddance, bitch, this type of thing. Yeah. I don't think that's the type of content. Well, and that's what I mean. I think denoting the hypocrisy.
I don't know if people are listening to that with their 5-year-olds. I mean, maybe, I'm sure there are people who do that, but I'm not sure if I understand the hypocrisy. Tom MacDonald, I don't think he gets the hate that he does because his music is like bad for children or whatever. Like kids are going to hear it and they're going to freak out or whatever. I think people dislike his music because it promotes a conservative agenda. So you could responsibly consume like an edgy Eminem song as an adult, I don't know if there's any way to responsibly consume a Tom MacDonald song, because it feels like the message it's delivering is always going to be.
You don't think I've demonstrated that pretty well?
Well, I think Tom MacDonald's a conservative, and I don't like conservatism, so I'm not.
Right.
Right, yeah. So I think it's harmful, like, flatly. Like, not just to
But
kids
isn't
or
that a
anything.
little reactionary of you?
Well, I don't think it's reactionary to be opposed to reactionary values. I don't think we should, like, legally censure Tom MacDonald. I think he has a legal right to publish or whatever he wants. I think that Walmart should carry his songs. I don't think they should, like, ban it or anything, except for maybe that awful album art cover with the blackface thing. But yeah, but I think it's okay to be, like, socially opposed to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think, like, just for context, okay? I think Joyner Lucas, that the song he did about, and I'm sure you know the song where he has the MAGA, the larger white guy, rapping the white perspective to him, and he's rapping the black perspective back to him. I also love art like this. So it's not like I'm just, oh, well, I really like Tom and his white songs. It's like, no. I love songs that say immutable characteristics ought not be weighed against people.
Everybody says that song is cringe, the Joyner Lucas song, but when it goes, I felt that. So I'm here for that part at least. I like the woo.
You like the woo woo?
I like the woo. I
Can you
do
make
like
that sound again, please?
Huh?
Yeah. Would you do that again?
Oh, sure. Woo. That part.
Nice.
That's art.
You know what I'm talking about, though. You know that part of the song, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even like the song "This Is America" when it came out. Listen, and Doobie remembers this, right? There were plenty of Dem socks in here that were like didn't even know that Gambino or who he was or what he was coming out with it, whatever. I was one of the first people to send it in and be like, "This is a dope song." Like, you can say, oh, well, he's a propagandist and Jews and all this nasty whatever. No. The art was very good. I actually really liked the art piece. I really liked what he was, the messages he was conveying about the corruption, the status quo, etc. I thought it was actually good.
Yeah, no,
so I'm just giving you context.
No,
I actually consume all of it, right?
I'm not trying to.
It's not just, oh, Tom and his whiteness. Thank goodness.
I'm not trying to impugn you or anything like that. I just think there's a distinction between being opposed to music because you think it's inappropriate for children and being opposed to music because you think the political platform that it's advertising is irresponsible, like generally. But
one could say that there are things that rest on the political nature of things like the product of early Eminem, right? Like existential nihilism taking hold when you realize that, a guy could like murder his whole family and rap about it while he's doing it. Something to this effect.
Yeah, sure. Though I don't think in those songs with Eminem, I generally don't think those songs are like, I don't think those people are meant to be the good guys, I'm pretty sure in the Eminem songs where he freaks out like that, it's usually, he's usually supposed to be the antagonist there.
Sure.
That's the impression I've gotten. Yeah. I'm not a big music guy myself. I can't really.
In many contexts, he is. He's sort of this, yes, he's like a catalytic antagonist, yes, because he changes so much. But yeah, exactly. It's more like it's like journeying through a schizo's head in a lot of, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean literally.
No, okay. But okay, yeah. So were there any other lines with the Tom MacDonald song that you wanted to go over? Any perspectives that you wanted to cover? Just one more, and then we can move on. I only have basically, I have like two more things because actually there was a young man you talked to recently, a Proud Boy, and I'd like to clear some things up there. I was saving that for last. Gotcha. All right.
Right. Yeah. See, I kind of know what I'm doing here. Let's see. Yeah. That was the line. Eminem used to gay bash and murder his mom, and now he doesn't want fans that they voted for Trump. Right. Yeah. Actually, that is it. That is for the song. Yeah, I want it, but so that line just sort of takes home what we went over it. But it's like, yeah, I think there is hypocrisy at play.
He's growing, right?
I mean, yes, there's progress there, sure, but to a degree, he hasn't dropped all of the violent imagery and rhetoric and stuff. Like, so you can say there's progress, but is it progress in the sense that he's any less violent?
Well, I don't mind the violence. I don't even because to me the degree to which this should be condemned, again, not censored, not made illegal, but condemned socially, derives from how much harm it does to society. And you could make an argument that like violent rap lyrics or whatever make people violent, but I think if there is a connection there, it tends to be somewhat tenuous. Whereas like the statement, he doesn't want fans if they voted for Trump, when he said that, he was one of the biggest figures in the musical scene, and he was just flat out like condemning the president and condemning people who were dumb enough to support him. And I thought that was a pretty strong message. I mean, it probably swayed at least some people. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's exactly the same. And I think it's possible to reject Trump supporters while also having problematic content in your music. I don't know if that's necessarily hypocrisy.
Okay. Yeah, perhaps not. Perhaps you have different standards for it. That's fine. I did, like I said, I really just wanted to pick your brain here. I don't want to, I'm not, because I know where we fundamentally disagree for the most part. We also probably agree on a good amount of foreign policy things and things like that. Someone in here actually advised me. They're like, if you two had a discussion on foreign policy, you probably fix the world's problems. I was laughing. Okay, so let's move to Patrick Bet-David. I really like this guy. And now, this is my homie, and you kind of diss my bro.
Patrick Wait, was that
yeah.
the fuck, what was his Twitch name?
That's the Iranian, man. You're shitting on my Iranian brother.
He was the Proud Boy debated. He was Iranian?
No. So no. So Patrick Bet-David's the minimum wage guy.
Patrick Bet-David. Oh, that fucking guy. Fuck that guy.
You dissed my homie, bro. How are you gonna diss my homie, bro?
Damn, well, maybe he should stop dissing sensible economics. It's get to
well, so here's the thing. This is basically my summation on this topic, right? And I can give it to you. Please stop me where you must do it, because this is basically just a paragraph I actually did write, unlike the previous, right? I actually have this one kind of formulated. If you speak to any Australian in high finance sectors of the economy, I am taking cliff notes to a degree here, so bear with me. High finance sectors of the economy domestically in Australia, they will usually, now this could be outside of the norm if you talk to, 5 people, but if you talk to, 500 over the course of the decade, okay, they'll explain, generally, this is something you'll run into, they'll explain at length that one of the best features of their economy is that the government stringently and strictly mandates what corporations are allowed to participate in the economy. They have regulations and mandates at an extreme high. One could say we have that here, but to the degree that this excessive red tape policy extends itself, there is even into things like wage controls, like the 19 AUD minimum wage. I think Pat said something like $12.60. You took issue. You said, wait, that's actually like $15.50. What the fuck? You're off $3. Okay, yes. He's like some guy that's a little, that was fair. I was like,
people do make mistakes. It was just a convenient mistake for his narrative,
Sure, like as if to suggest that if he, right, I got you. He's soft padding. He's essentially getting it out there, and then if he's wrong, oh, well, whoopsie, okay, sure. But so this is imposed by the Australian government. And I've talked to guys, and they say that basically you got a couple options there. You can enter the market through a union as a worker, or you can be a business owner who then becomes unionized. There's basically very little option outside of this. Now, I'm not arguing the effects of that, okay? Because we probably will never agree on the effects of that. And that's okay. I'm not here. That's not my issue, actually. Mm-hmm. My issue was that you said that when he stated that Australia is a socialist country, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that with socialists, I've talked to many Marxists, I've talked to Antifa guys on the street, face to face. These guys don't accept most standards of socialism. They think socialism they have a very idealistic perception of what attain. Sure, go ahead.
By
please.
No metric can Australia be considered socialist. No. Socialism is not when the government does stuff. Socialism
okay.
Right. Just like by no measure. The Nordic countries are closer, and even they aren't, Australia
But you do understand on a scale of authoritarianism versus anti-authoritarianism. In terms of red tape, someone that comes from a place that's arguably somewhat Islamo-fascistic is going to see that the crucial aspect of the economy, let's say, being that the government stringently and strictly mandates it, that whether that's communism, fascism, socialism, a combination of these things, when you have government holding, mandating, seizing, what have you, of the economy, in the context of this man...
Australia do that, though? I mean, Australia is a little bit big brothery for my taste. I know that Australia, for example, is like video game censors. I know a lot of gamer friends in Australia who have to get foreign ports for stuff that they want to play. But when we're just talking about the minimum wage here, I don't think that Australia has like an authoritarian economic system,
Well, I mean, I disagree. I think what you'll see in... Well, because the wage controls, the ability for new market entry. If you want to enter the market as a business owner, do you understand how expensive it is to employ a small working class staff in Australia? To even get...
a higher minimum wage is not authoritarian by any metric.
Okay, but really quickly, when Pat says Australia is socialist country, in the context of an Iranian coming from Iran, right? He born and raised. I would disagree and say that in his context, he's denoting the authoritarianism of the economy, specifically.
Well, but that's just,
I get that he may have used it colloquially, and that maybe that's not the whole thing of socialism. Maybe you don't even agree that that's socialism at all.
No, okay. It's absolutely not. It's just a capitalist government that has slightly better market restrictions than the United States does. The United States, despite being the wealthiest country on earth, is like number 15 on the Human Quality of Life Index. We're beat by a great number of social democracies, including Australia.
Yeah, but there are arguments as to how that metric's ascertained anyway.
Sure, but these countries aren't like more... I don't know what you mean by authoritarian. They have more robust democracies than we do, too. America's democracy is more ridden with misrepresentation and corruption than these governments are. So by what metric would they be authoritarian?
Well, again, excessive red tape. I'm saying he's perceiving that as an Iranian immigrant. That's why he says it. Even in the context he says it, it's not like he says this is the definition of a socialist political praxis. He says this is socialist.
But
it's like, well, he means this is mandated. This is excessive red tape. The government's got its fingers in all the pies.
Sure, if words can mean whatever you want, I get. Like, that does not mean socialism, and I don't accept this like variant definition bullshit, because the way people like him distort the meaning of socialism does active harm to my movement. By associating socialism with authoritarianism or associating it with social democracy, you actively make it more difficult for people like me to explain to people what it actually means. I don't think there's any excuse for that misinformation. No. I'm saying he did it because he's worth $150 million. And so I naturally hate him, of course, for that. But if we're talking about red tape starting at businesses, if the quality of life index in Australia is higher than it is in America, who the fuck cares about how much red tape you have to go through? If people are happier, then clearly those regulations are like doing their job. Like, we don't want to deregulate for the sake of deregulation. The argument for deregulation is that it overall leads to the government being better. It leads to people being happier. But people are happier in governments that regulate the economy better.
Well, I would just argue that, I could counter you with saying that the way that metric's ascertained, that living index, people debate that. They debate whether or not those qualities are measured correctly. That's okay. But I would even say that, again, given the context of a guy that grew up in like an Islamo-fascist place, he's simply saying they are economically centralized. There is a central authority that deems the economy. And it's much worse, or let's say overarching, than, let's say, in the context he says it, any comparative country.
Well, the reason why he doesn't like it, he's a multimillionaire, so of course he doesn't like government regulation. But if it helps the people in the country, then what should I care for him? Like, there's no excuse.
Well, he's
for
a person, though.
Definite.
And he employs thousands of people.
He's fine. And again, the only thing that we're looking for here is making society better. There's absolutely no argument to be made here that deregulation makes society better. For God's sake, Texas is freezing to death right now because of deregulation. Deregulation is the reason why our rivers were clogged with diesel and our air was choked with pollution.
I thought Texas was how it was right now as a result of the move to solar. Isn't it 12% or something like that of all the windmills are not functional right now because of the central push to green energy?
Nope, not even slightly. Texas has a completely deregulated energy grid because 100 years ago they broke themselves off from the eastern and western transits because they didn't want to have their companies regulated.
Right. But I'm saying right now,
No. All of the power plants they use, oil, coal, natural gas, wind, and solar, have all been affected by the cold snap because none of them were properly regulated and updated with regards to climate changes.
Actually, you know what? If that's true, maybe you can educate me on that. I did not know that. If that's true, let me know. That's awesome. Okay, fair. Yeah, perhaps that's a thing.
The only point that I'm getting at is, like,
I haven't heard that though, but please do send me, if anyone here in the chat, whatever, said material, I'd actually like to see that.
It's corroborated.
I'm not from Texas. So.
Well, thank God right now.
No shit.
Well, the only point I'm getting at, I don't think deregulation is in and of itself a good. We know that it can do a lot of harm. Much of the regulation we have in the United States was born off the back of hundreds or thousands of people dying because different industries weren't regulated properly. We have a lot of regulation in this country, but we also have a lot of money running through it. It's clearly not affecting our economy that negatively. And if Australia's people are happier, then fuck it. Regulation did some good for them, right? We should have a higher minimum wage. We should be providing more to our people. We should have higher taxes. I like these things just seem to really reliably lead to happier populations, which again is the only thing I really care about.
And you do think, like, I just want to opinion on this because this is where we're going to disagree, right? You do think it can scale up to a population of 325 million from a country like, let's say, Australia.
A higher minimum wage?
Yeah, all of it. The higher regulations, more red tape, a high tax, and
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have more money to draw from a tax pool than any other country, so the higher tax should work pretty easy on its own. We know the minimum wage can work. I think there's been plenty of research done on that and a $15 an hour minimum wage and where it would affect different areas more or less, and there would be some growing pains, but I think we can manage it. And then if you have stuff like universal health care, that would be more difficult to implement, which is why Bernie Sanders said, like, even this will take 5 years for me to implement. This will be a long-term thing. But if we dip our toe into it with the public option, even that would be significantly better than what we had before, you know?
Well, perhaps you have an interesting way of looking at stuff. I don't necessarily agree. I don't think it could scale up. Maybe that's another debate because I do want to move to the Proud Boy thing.
Yeah, sure. We don't. Yeah,
And actually, I wouldn't mind doing this again. You're more entertaining to debate than Destiny. Destiny was a pain in my ass. Shout out Destiny. I love you, bro.
I'm sure he would say he loves you too.
Oh yeah, he loves me so much, dude.
I just want to say that Watch lost to Destiny recently in a debate. Carry on.
Oh, geez.
Damn.
You know, I probably disagree, Vosh, because when I see you and him go at it, I wind up agreeing with both of you guys on different shit.
Lost in a contest of who has a woman's name. Got him.
Yes. Oof. Okay, let's just dial it in to the juicy stuff because I know there's people waiting for this, which is silly. It's all silly. I'm just going to tell you, disclaimer, this is all hilarious. Just the way that we are now and the way that tone is and stuff. I'll tell you this, Vosh, right? I am a Proud Boy. I'm a 3rd degree Proud Boy in the Bay Area chapter. You know where the East Bay is, right? East Bay, California.
Oh,
Palo Alto, Mountain View.
I'm familiar with the area, yes.
Sure. So I can tell you this.
What does 3rd degree mean? Wait.
So there are degrees, right? So the first is that you undergo the intake. The second is that you get a tattoo. The third is that you do something proactive, engage in real world activity with the Proud Boys. And then the fourth is that you get arrested defending somebody.
Cool. Well,
yeah.
It's more than Antifa manages to be in this country for all the good it does us. All right, hit me up. What discourse do you have in your mind?
So check it out. I heard the young man say, and this, I'm not trying to slight him, right? Yeah, I got one person. Tell him that tell him that the people are happier when the government does their job fucking completely. All right, fair. I agree with you, bro. But hold on. So there was a young Proud Boy that you talked to, I think 1 month ago, about approximately. I think the video says 1 month ago. Mm-hmm. Debating a Proud Boy, talking to Proud Boy, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I think he was a Midwestern Proud Boy. I'm not sure where he was out of. I can't recall off the top. He used the word organization to describe Proud Boys, and I have a bone to pick with it. And I can speak. I am of authority to speak on it, right? Ryan Katsu-Rivera will tell you that. Joe Biggs will tell you that. I don't know if Big G will tell you that because he's really hard to talk to. That's Gavin. Recently, let me just give you some context. You know who Enrique Tarrio is, right?
I'm familiar, yeah.
Right. Gavin hired a private investigator to look into him because things were getting weird. I'll explain what things were getting weird means in a moment. But the TLDRs, it was found, and no redactions. You will hear weird, like, disinformation from different circles. Well, actually, his name was redacted. We don't know. Well, actually, he was employed. Well, no. Listen. The documents were shown on censored.tv. I can give you the season and the episode. I'm not saying go buy it. You don't have to. Don't bother. I could just play the clip. But basically, it's available. You can look at these documents. Now, he was, in fact, in 2 dockets, what's called a CI, and he was in 1 docket at UC, a UI, an undercover informant, and in 2 of them, a confidential informant. CI jurisdictions, he was basically means he got caught committing a crime. he was given the option to flip on his co-conspirators, and he did. And in the UI case, he was actually commissioned by the federal government while committing crime to do so. So he was actually offered benefits and no sentencing. Now, he was complicit in all of these acts. The TLDR takeaway here is it's not an organization. It hasn't always and always will remain equivalent to a charter or a club. Now, around this time, when like Capitol, really quick, let me just, I will. Let me just wrap it up. Around this time, the Capitol's happening. Enrique gets arrested with a bag at the Capitol with Proud Boy imprinted AR-15 magazines. Gavin, for the week, that past week, had been saying, Enrique keeps telling me he wants me to go down there and do a speech, give a speech. I don't want to go down there. That's stupid. Proud Boys were not under any directive to go down there. No Proud Boy chapter had decided to go down there. There was one Proud Boy chapter in the local DC area and the Trigger City Proud Boys that decided to show. Okay, this is Enrique's chapter, actually, the Trigger City. Now, he kept encouraging Gavin, and Gavin said no. He went there. He got arrested shortly before the riot. What's happening right now in the inner PB, here's some tea from inside PB, is that what we're seeing is that Enrique was a complicit federal informant. Gavin found this out. Most likely speculation based on the documents we have, it suggests that the guy was a ploy. He was arrested to keep him insulated from any chaos that occurred, and that very likely this overblowing of the Proud Boys involvement there has a politically charged rhetorical end in mind, rather having an actual extremist leader. In fact, just 2 days ago, Gavin said, I don't trust this piece of shit anymore. He's a rat. He's just a rat. So I just want that aired. I want people to acknowledge this moving forward. And if you see a Proud Boy saying some racist shit, he's not a fucking Proud Boy. And that's all I want to say.
But isn't Gavin McInnes... Wait, first of all, colloquially, the difference between an organization and a club/chapter is ambiguous,
sure,
to say the least. Second of all, Gavin McInnes is pretty openly racist, so I don't know how association with McInnes is going to... I don't know how that exonerates your average Proud Boy from themselves being a Proud Boy if they're racist. Like, I don't know how that necessarily distances them. Not Gavin McInnes. Enrique Torrio was really good for your movement because he was way better with optics. He seemed a lot smarter, a lot calmer, and he was, mixed race, which made him look a lot, it was optically, I think, a better move. Maybe he's a Fed, I don't know. It seems it was interpreted that way, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, do you take issue? Like, is not racism one of the principal motivating forces behind the Proud Boys? It seems like every time there's like a log leak, you motherfuckers are saying some pretty heinous shit in the background, Right, but that's the thing, is that even now, as we're undergoing this realization, you're going to run into Proud Boys that swear Tarrio's still static. It's actually a good, let's say, salt test, right? That he's in place, he is the leader, etc. It's a good salt test, actually, because if you meet a quote Proud Boy who doesn't know this about Tarrio, then they're not a Proud Boy. Listen, the tenets are minimal government, maximum freedom, anti-political correctness, anti-drug war, closed borders, anti-racial guilt, anti-racism, pro-free speech, First Amendment, pro-gun rights, Second Amendment, glorifying the entrepreneur, venerating the housewife, and reinstating the spirit of Western chauvinism. What is that?
Now, this kid
Western
didn't really have all those
mean?
tenets, and that bugged me that he didn't even know his fucking tenets. But
yeah, okay. So I don't think anyone outside of the Proud Boys is interested in like purity testing the Proud Boys. From our perspective,
what I was going to say is, even as we undergo this change now, we are having experiences where there are guys coming in, right, to like Telegram chats. They're starting a chat called Proud Boy Kansas City, and then they're just posting a bunch of esoteric neo-Nazi shit. That is happening.
Right.
Yes.
Does that make them not a Proud Boy? I mean, that seems pretty...
Absolutely not. You cannot be a racist and be a Proud Boy.
But Gavin McInnes is racist, and he's
not. He's married to a native Canadian. I don't think he married someone he hates, man.
Wait, hold on. Being a racist doesn't mean that you can't fuck brown people. You can do that. In fact, the original Nazis did that too. That's not like an exonerating.
No. He doesn't fuck her. He spent
Or
22
married,
years with her and made 4 children.
I was being facetious. Married,
Well,
whatever.
I'm just saying it's unlikely that someone spends 20 plus years with someone they're so racially pent up on and produces, 3 kids.
Do you think misogynists don't get married to women? Like, why would they get married to a group of people?
I'm married to a woman. I'm a misogynist.
Yeah, well, there you. Well, see, there you
get
go.
Married.
No, see, there you go.
I don't hate my wife. I don't.
But
have
I'm
any.
not saying Gavin McInnes hates his wife. I'm sure he loves his wife very much. But misogynists can get married to women, so racist people can get married to black people. Like that, it happens. We know it happens.
I see that as very unlikely.
But do you really think that's like? This is what I mean with like the obfuscation. Like this is the exonerating thing right here. Like he has a non-white wife. But then if you actually look at the shit he's said and done, like it's pretty obviously paints the picture of, I mean, you could say neo-Nazi, at the very least a fascist. But what? Because he has like a non-white wife? Like,
bro, I have to tell you, like, there's nothing fascistic about Gavin. Like, he started a street magazine dedicated to teaching you how to cook heroin on a spoon.
A brown shirt organization. Also, all the Nazis were on drugs.
Listen, there's nothing brown shirt about PB.
About a far-right group that
you think
appears
I'm a brown
alignment...
shirt, but I'm here to talk to you.
Well, yeah, sure. I'm not saying every individual member of the Proud Boys is like some morally heinous person, but yeah, it's a brown shirt org. He advocated for violence against protesters. He said, like, what was
self-defense is an advocation for violence.
He said he dreams of brick smashing people. He said punch a tranny. There are plenty of quotes of him saying shit like this. It wasn't all self-defense advocacy. He wants to go out there and fuck people up. And the Proud Boys, they show up to all these like far right, or they show up to these far right protests. They're unilaterally in support of Donald Trump, which is interesting because he is not a libertarian by any way.
But that's on a chapter by chapter basis anyway, dude.
Yeah, but okay, if you can't, I'm pretty sure the Proud Boys are generally aligned with Donald Trump. And
it actually depends because some of, really quickly, like my chapter, very libertarian organization. So in a way,
I'm glad, but you have to recognize.
So in a way, there's no, just real quick, there's no great adoration for Donald Trump. There's adoration for political outsiders.
Like
anyone that's a political outsider. I mean, we're at the point where the status quo is such that insiders are the detriment. They are the corruption.
Well, sure. I would consider Donald Trump an insider in at least a few respects, but
a political insider.
We can agree, I think, that the Proud Boys are generally like Republican voters.
I'm a split voter, man. When I vote local, I vote for Democrats, I vote for independents, I vote for Republicans.
They were heavily present at the Capitol riot. They show up at these orgs. They fight with Antifa. They occupy the same role as brown shirts. And this isn't the first time. The last time I talked to a Proud Boy, they do this too.
But I could say that Antifa occupies that role.
If you could argue that, but Antifa occupies it from the opposite perspective. Antifa was back in Nazi Germany too, and they also fought against the brown shirts. So you could say they're fulfilling a role, but it would be the same historical anti-fascist role that they've been filling for nearly a century.
Simply due to appearing the same and using the same branding mechanisms? Because the praxis isn't the same. What do you mean, what branding? Antifa is branded across different cells across the country. They are branded up.
It's not an org. People show up in black and they tend to be just like small.
I can show you logos from different clubs and stuff.
Yeah, like the anarcho-syndicalist flag, the communist flag. Yeah, I don't.
No. I mean literal, custom done vector graphics for particular or local Antifa cells.
I can't say I've seen that. It's possible that's the case, but I'm not here to talk about Antifa. I'm fine, at least morally, with what they do. But you cannot deny. Like, I don't want to go out here like quote mining, because then it would just be like I say a quote and you have to say like, oh, that's out of context, or oh, that doesn't mean anything. But like Gavin McInnes is absolutely like a far right individual, and the Proud Boys is categorically aligned with the far right. They fill the same basic social role as the brown shirts did. Their job is to intimidate, man. Their job is to intimidate people when they go to these protests.
No, I've never intimidated someone with the intention to intimidate them away from anything. I don't know any Proud Boy that's engaged in that.
You're tier 3. How did you get that role?
What do you mean? I've actually been to events talking to people, protesting, defending others.
Defending others? In what context?
In the context of being, let's say, downtown San Francisco with Antifa members.
Really? Because there's plenty of corroborated evidence indicating that, generally speaking, Antifa is not the one to initiate violence. And there's been plenty of videos and plenty of investigations done by actual journalists indicating that Proud Boys are incredibly aggressive and antagonistic when presented with these like protester
I'm not going to
scenes.
deny that there are individuals that enjoy the fight or something to this degree, but to say that that's so denote or that it's like, oh, well, this is the notation that establishes brown shirtism. No, I could say that about, I've seen many Antifa guys that are ready to go.
You can't,
What do you mean?
You're not a brown shirt just by being like violent on the ground. You're a brown shirt if you're a fascist org that's violent on the ground with the specific intent of intimidating.
Fascist org, correct. So
do we really have to talk about like Proud Boy involvement and all the far right shit we do? This is the problem. Is I feel like when I talk with the Proud Boy types, like you guys just can't own what your org is or does. It feels like you guys are recruiting
because that's
off my
propaganda,
stream.
And I feel like you're propagating
It's not propaganda. It's what happens.
Yes, it is. Ask any. Okay, I want anyone in this VC to tell me that I'm a neo-fascist right now. That's not.
Nobody's talking.
You're a neo-fascist.
Nobody's talking.
Yes, but that's untenable. There's nothing about what I do or in you that's neo-fascist. That's silly.
We're not talking about you. Okay, we're talking about the broader movement.
Okay, well, take me as a representative of
no.
PB,
why would I do that? If that was the case,
that's
do you really think you can judge an entire movement by the best behaved good boys?
So let me ask you this: what Proud Boys have you talked to that have said, "I can't wait to crack commie skulls"? Which one?
First of all, I don't form my opinions on organizations by asking people who know that if they were honest, they would be arrested what they think of their own movements. And second of all, why would any Proud Boy be stupid enough to openly admit that they want to engage in political violence? Except for Gavin McInnes, the idiot who founded your org, who has literally dozens of quotes that you could pull from his show where he openly and gleefully advocates violence against left-leaning people. Not even defensively. He just likes the idea of hurting these people. He said you do
understand the reason he lost his job at Blaze was for advocating self-defense. That is what Glenn Beck said. He advocated a violent response to violence, and Glenn Beck did not want him working there for that.
What does that have to do with what I just said?
Well, I think that's a ridiculous characterization, my dude. You're saying he openly gleefully. I don't think open glee is how people defend themselves.
I'm not talking about Glenn Beck. I'm talking about Gavin McInnes.
I know. I'm talking about when he lost his job.
I don't know the specifics of how he lost his job.
Okay. Oh, I'm giving you them.
But I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about.
That someone who's fired. Well, right. But I'm suggesting someone who's fired for saying I'm going to meet violence with violence is not the same as what you're characterizing.
He was. I'm not. Wait. Hold on. I can't tell if you're like being stupid intentionally or if you don't understand what I'm saying. Okay. Just because you can find an instance of him saying I support self-defense does not mean he didn't say or do other things where it wasn't self-defense. We don't even need to talk about the explicit stuff here. I don't know why you people are so hung up on the concept of self-defense. Every time you guys show up to rallies, you instigate and escalate. You create the situations you need to defend yourself from.
That's interesting because when Gavin left the Republican convention in downtown Manhattan, they were confronted and stalked by Antifa.
I don't know the specific. What?
Well, I'll give you them again. The New York 4 who got arrested, it turned into 3 because one of them was not the same race as the others, and that didn't suit the DA. They were arrested after they engaged in mutual combat, after they were stalked and harassed by Antifa after the Republican convention.
I don't know why you keep trying to bring up like specific instances of things
because I haven't heard you bring up one.
Sure, okay. Here's a 15-minute, 21-second video. RWW News, Gavin McInnes' history of violent rhetoric. I'm going to post it in the politics chat. You can watch it with me. We're going to have a good time together.
I have. We can go through it. Let's do it.
You've watched this specific video?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Okay, there you go. I've posted it. All right, let's get into it.
No, we can go through it. Let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to start this video in 3, 2, 1.
Can't we just fight? In my day, the Nazi skinheads would come up to your show, beat up everyone, and leave. You'd still have a great night. It was only 10 minutes. Let's just fight and get it over with. You can even win. I'll let you win. Just shut up. You know?
There he is joking about like just it looks like he was joking about just like attacking. I'm assuming that these are this is 2015. So what would these be? BLM protesters? Neo-Nazi skinheads would just come and beat you up, even let you win. All right.
Let you win. Just we are ready. And when we hear a noise
so he makes a comment on the context of that situation. He wasn't suggesting that's going to happen because
of course. It was just talking about it. He wasn't specifically advocating
quite literally,
it because that would be illegal.
No, he was saying that was about to occur.
No,
Right.
he was specifically saying back in the day, neo-Nazi skinheads would have come and beat you up, comma,
Right.
we'd even let you win.
That's
He's
a
kind of
would.
associating himself with the neo-Nazi skinheads. in
No,
the
no, no. He's
hypotheticals.
saying society. Like back in the 60s, a bunch of punk rock skinhead guys would have shown up and beat everyone up. That's what he's saying.
I think punk rockers tended to be pretty left. Here, okay, well, let's just continue.
Do you know what
We think
metal
about-
militia is?
Why do you keep asking me questions like, do you
Well,
know?
because metal militia
stop,
is a quintessential
Why do you
OG
keep bringing
Okay.
up like niche examples? I'm sure there were punk rock Nazis, but overall, the punk scene was pretty definitively left-leaning because it was full of people who felt as though they were social rejects, and that was
Right, and
generally
part
rooted
of
in
that
anarchism and queer culture. Okay, Nazis
but part of-
appropriated punk imagery later. They did it afterwards.
No.
Like
no.
everything
Nazis
else,
didn't
Nazi.
appropriate punk imagery.
Nazis
That's not
have
how that worked.
appropriated literally everything they've ever done. They appropriated neoclassicism. They appropriated Nordic aesthetics. They have appropriated everything. There is not a single artistic trend that originates from Nazis because Nazis are anti-art. They defend tradition, not creation. They have never made anything. The swastika
you
was
understand-
appropriated.
You understand punk rock appropriated Nazi symbology, right? You just inversed that, and you're completely wrong.
There were some punks who, to deliberately be antagonistic to broader society, wore Nazi armbands. That's not necessarily appropriation. They're invoking Nazi imagery in the context of Nazi imagery. But punk rock aesthetics are not defined by the couple of people who, to be edgy, put swastika armbands on. Like, they weren't Nazis. They did it deliberately to say,
but
fuck
again,
you,
metal
society.
militia. I mean, man, that brand is quintessentially like one of the closest brands and movements to the street, to the grassroots punk movement. And they always used Nazi imagery to appropriate and revoke the power of that imagery. That is a left thing. I agree with you.
Okay,
But
let's keep
I
going.
don't see how you can wait really quick. I do not see how you can say, and maybe you misspoke. I don't want to get pedantic. Maybe okay, Nazis didn't appropriate punk. Punk appropriated Nazi. Okay, but yes, and the idea was to take the power away. So what Gavin is saying is, back in the day, a bunch of punk rock guys saying, "Shut the fuck up. We don't care. We're here to smash," would have shown up, and they probably would have had mohawks and fucking lightning bolt tats.
I
and
think
et
the
cetera.
first
Yes.
clip was a positive association with the concept of far-right people engaging in violence over political differences. Let's just continue with the clip. Okay,
Sure.
hold on.
I don't
The
think
people
so.
who published our address and put it up on social media, and we think of where our guns are, and we get ready to blow someone's fucking head off. I've even killed people in my dreams. That's how awesome my gun is. I've had dreams where someone broke in. I went and
Yeah,
got
right, the
my
dreams
fucking
of the
shotgun
gun, right? We're
and
on
killed
that?
them.
Or on the dreams of the gun.
Yes.
And then I woke up and I went, Jesus, these
I'm
are
at
handy.
50. Do you want to
Not
pause here?
I'm at 47. Hold on.
Not only do they protect you in reality, they protect you in Freddy land. If
Okay, I'm at 50. What? Okay. We can keep
I'm
going.
at a
for-
minute, yeah.
Yeah, we can keep going for a little while. Okay, hold on.
Freddy showed
Yeah.
up and tried to kill me, I would go, sorry, Claus. Say goodbye to your shitty old garage sale sweater.
We were a better society when we beat the shit out of each other.
Weren't we?
I think it's amazing like how many people under 30 have never been in a physical fight, like ever.
It's the
Right?
trouble with the entire right wing. There's too many of them who have never been in a fight.
Yeah, and I think this is something that Canada hasn't succumbed to yet. Or maybe if it has, I mean, I certainly think that like I'm about to go to Australia and New Zealand with my wife, and the Aussies and New Zealanders.
Zealanders.
I don't know, the people from New Zealand that I know.
Kiwis.
Kiwis, yeah, they're all kind of badasses. Like they're physically fit. They go hiking and shit. They occasionally throw down if they get drunk. I mean, when was the last time you actually saw a legit bar fight? Right? It's probably been a few years.
Yeah, it hasn't been a very long. It's been a couple years, and this is in New
whenever
York
you
City
want.
where they should be happening.
Yeah, well, I'm just enjoying the
Pausing.
video. Do you want to talk?
Yeah. I mean, dude, shit. Okay, so violence, he thinks there should be more violence. Yeah, I think men should be able to fight.
Okay. So he thinks there should be more violence. He talks about it frequently, including adulating praise for the idea of lethally engaging with another person. And then he starts a street gang, which is only allowed to men, where higher membership in the organization is left to people who, quote unquote, defend themselves in a public confrontation or get arrested by the police. So I don't know what part of this is meant to make me feel as though the Proud Boys are not brown shirt associated, you know?
Well, this is the thing, man. Most of what he's describing is just self-defense. It's flowery. It's upsetting.
He's
maybe
mentioned
to you.
self-defense like one time in the in the 2 minutes that we're looking at here. The rest of it has just been celebration of violence, which is a fascist tendency.
But that has to do with the context. That's why it's a compilation.
This is why I said if we just go over specifics, you would say we're missing content. This is what I mean.
No. I'm saying that's why it's a compilation, isn't it?
I don't think essential context is really missing here. I feel like the point he's making is being delivered pretty effectively. These aren't like little 4-second clip chimps. These are
to be clear. Like I can recall most of these shows, right? So like the one where he's saying, "I don't think we're violent enough." He had just finished speaking about self-defense and how he taught his kids to always defend themselves if there's a bully punching them at school and things of this nature.
Okay.
So like he segues into, I think we should be more violent.
Self-defense is the mantra that you guys use to obfuscate the fact that you engage in violence. If you go down to a protest or a rally,
but I'm not going to hit someone who hasn't hit me or someone that I'm fearful they may kill.
Maybe you won't, but there's plenty of video evidence of Proud Boys instigating antagonism at protests. This absolutely happens. And we also know that they were participants in the storming of the Capitol, which was literally a fascist coup to try to overturn democracy.
Yes, but to a much lesser degree than is rhetoricized, man. That's why I'm telling you, Tario's arrest was like it flew up flags all over the place. It was like, wait a minute.
What does that have? Wait, are you saying that the Proud Boys, the 7 or 8 or so that have been arrested so far for their Capitol intrusion, that they were feds, like they were plants?
No. I'm saying that Tario. I already explained this. Tario was arrested on basically what you would say are very auspicious charges. We then find out he was a CI, a PI, CI, a UI with the feds. And, ostensibly, the handful of Proud Boys, I think it is 8. I think you're one of the first people on the left. I think it's like 5 or 8. I forget the number because we, one or 2 pop up. I think you're the first person I've talked to that has the number right because I've heard like 20, 30, 50. Like,
well, there are probably quite a bit more at the actual rally. Just those are the ones that have been arrested so far for their incursion onto the Capitol ground.
Right. But so I'm just saying, I mean, like this circumstance looks a lot like to most Proud Boys that what happened was you had a Fed set up as best he could a narrative and then get popped so he wouldn't be there when things happened. He even encouraged Gavin, listen, Tario knew that Gavin a year prior had to make a statement and say for the court, John Kinsman, that's his name.
Wait, what does this have to do with Proud Boys being at the?
I'm explaining it. I would say that that was instigated. That minority of Proud Boys that showed up, sure, they're maybe not the brightest bunch, and they got convinced by someone like Tario. Yes.
Wait, hold on. They didn't get convinced by Tario. They were Trump supporters. They were just like Trump supporters.
No, they did get convinced by Tario.
Did all the people there get convinced by Tario? Did he just have a giant group
Trigger
chat?
City. The telegram for the Trigger City Proud Boys, Tario heads, and when he was
the thousands of people who participated.
Yeah, there's the organization, as you call it, is what 17,000, and the telegram has well over that. Almost all.
So
serious Proud Boys are involved in an alt media presence to talk and share.
Actually saying that the entire siege on the Capitol was orchestrated by Enrique Tarrio as some sort of Fed effort to make the Proud Boys look bad? I don't know. What are we talking about?
I'm saying the small contingency of Proud Boys that did get convinced to go there were convinced fallaciously by a bad actor.
Okay, I don't think you have evidence of that, and I don't think that exonerates them in any way.
Oh, you don't think I have evidence of that? Do you want me to play it?
Play what?
The Gavin talking about the documentation he has on Tario.
There were other Proud Boys who were interested in going. Why would Proud Boys not go if Trump supporters in general were going to that rally? Like, why would
again
Proud Boys
because,
are like
because
mega
a
Trump
prominent
supporters?
chapter,
Why would they?
Right, but because a prominent chapter lobbied all of them to go, and again, you had a very small amount of them actually show up.
Okay, all right, it was a Fed plant. Here, wait, I just want to watch another minute of this. Okay,
sure. Let's hit play.
Okay.
But I'd really like to play the clip that I have.
The infighting Fed allegation shit for the Proud Boys means literally nothing to me, and it doesn't shit. Your association with Enrique Tarrio was exonerating for you guys. Going back to Gavin McInnes only makes you look worse. So
I do not agree. It's not exonerating to have a rat. That's not exonerating.
Okay, hold on.
I think there's not enough violence in today's day and age. When we grew up, I was talking about this on Facebook with old buddies from my hometown. Violence was everywhere. I want violence. I want punching in the face. I'm disappointed in Trump supporters for not punching enough.
I want violence. I want punching in the face. I'm disappointed in Trump supporters for not punching enough. Not a word of self-defense here. And keep going.
I think we only have about 4 or 5 punches so far. But anyway, and we need to bring back bullying. We have to bring back punching in the face.
Have to bring back punching in the face, bring back bullying.
Yeah, getting punched in the face can be a good thing, man.
Oh my god, dude. We're talking about the leader of a political organization advocating for people to engage in violence more often. Come on.
Yes, but we're talking about that in the context of getting attacked.
Okay. Now, which was made very evident in the clips that we were shown. Okay, all right. I feel like we have arrived at some irreconcilable differences. We could look through literally any number of clips or segments, and it wouldn't change your perspective on this in the slightest.
Maybe.
Well, this is what happened the last time I talked to him.
Self-defense is a good thing. I think camaraderie is a good thing.
No, wait, hold on. Literally nobody has a problem with self-defense or camaraderie. These are beliefs expressed by Antifa. Proud Boys are openly and obviously prejudiced, openly a fascist org. But every time I talk to a Proud Boy, it feels like they're doing like some weird optics game with me.
Wait,
like you're doing
wait. What do I prejudge, man? What does a Proud Boy prejudge? Please explain. I'm just curious. You said prejudice. So what have I prejudged?
Are you a Western chauvinist?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I haven't prejudged that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So as I said, I don't know how much more we're going to be able to get. But yeah.
All right. If I may, can I do one thing of charity to the chat, and then I'll be off your back?
McInnes was like a believer in the white genocide theory, right? That like brown and black people were being put into the United States in order for them to demographically displant white people. It was the same belief that led to the Christchurch shooting.
So if you mean the articles he wrote way back for Vice, he actually owns some of that rhetoric in a video entitled The 10 Worst Career Moves or whatever it was, things he's ever done. And he explains that basically when he wrote it, and I'm going to try and give this to you. I understand maybe you got your ideas about me or whatever it is. But he explains that, listen, this was at a time when the street grit culture permitted such flowery language. You could say N-words, you could say K-words, ridiculous stuff in street mags from the late 80s,
that's just like
early
the
90s.
word. That's just the word on the street, just being like,
no.
Dog,
This is from.
I'm G McGinnis, and I believe that Jews are sending blacks and browns into America to display the white demographic. Well, hold on. He said plenty of stuff about Jews. Hold on.
No. The 10 things I hate about Jews, that was a satirical thing that Ezra Levant produced with him. Come on. That's a silly one. I don't want to do low-hanging fruit.
It's not just the 10
Ezra
things
Levant
of Jews. He just made
him.
weird comments about Jews. Like that time
right,
that...
but Ezra Levant produced it. He's a Jew. I don't think... Come on.
Wait,
stop.
Hold on. Like that time where he said he sympathized with Holocaust deniers because he felt like he was being shamed for being Western when he went to that Israeli Holocaust museum. Was that satire?
Right, yes, that was literally part of, that is part of the whole bit about how he was joking about, man, these Jews, they just come down. I felt so that he even talks about how he went to Israel. Okay.
Yeah, he went to Israel and he went to a Holocaust museum. He was like, damn, I sympathize with these Holocaust deniers because I'm feeling real shame for my whiteness right now. But it was
right. And he further went on to perform a comedy set in Israel, during which he made a joke. He said, collectivism's horrible, and Stalin murdered 40 million and Mao murdered 20 million and geez, the Holocaust, they murdered 300,000. And everyone in the audience laughed.
Damn, that's a phenomenal joke that nobody in there actually had any real beliefs associated with, You just keep making jokes about that stuff.
He doesn't have any real beliefs. The joke is that there are a bunch of extreme people that suggest this, and that's funny. Yes, that's comedy.
The real joke is that when you're anti-Semitic, you're making fun of the other people who are being anti-Semitic. Somebody should have told David Duke and Richard Spencer, who seemed to unironically appreciate his jokes. They probably just didn't get it was
Wait, you've watched comedy from throughout the ages, right? You understand like Andrew Dice Clay. Do you know who that is?
I don't know Andrew Dice Clay is. No, I'm not very versed in that particular.
Oh my goodness!
I'm 15.
You might have an aneurysm if you watch him.
Wait, what does that have? Wait, hold on.
Well,
So wait, hold on. So did Andrew Dice Clay make comments about the Holocaust that got him praised by Ku Klux Klanners and neo-Nazis?
Oh, he made ridiculous comments.
Then that's bad.
I can't repeat any of the things he used to say.
Then that's bad.
Crazy
Wait, then
shit.
why are you bringing that up? Then that's bad.
I'm asking for context. In the context of comedy, people do take painful, horrible things and make satirical jokes about them. Andrew Dice Clay being one of the most notable.
Are the Proud Boys a joke too?
Actually, the original chapter in New York City started as a joke.
Gotcha. I know. This is my experience talking with any of you types. It's, oh God. Hey, just wait.
It did start as a joke,
by the way, my personal opinion, what you're doing right now, like this back and forth, this tap dance, is the most emasculated, feminine, pussyfooting bullshit that I've ever had to deal with my entire career.
Bro.
No, it is.
I think what's emasculating and pussyfooting is the way that you propagate.
My testosterone levels are actually being sapped right now with the amount of like dodging that I have to deal with every time I talk to people from the fucking Proud Boys.
You're not dodging.
I'm not dodging shit. I own everything that I say. No one's dodging. We're just joking here. All right. I don't know if we're going to be able to change anyone's minds here, okay? I love you. I appreciate the talk.
Is he mad?
Vosh, thank you so much for
I'm
coming
mad
on.
about
RV,
Western civilization.
Thank you.
All right.
Again, if you guys want to find the server, discord.gg/politics. Vosh, always love having you around. Have a great day.
Well, I love you, buddy, okay? I love all you. I love
you too.
White people,
I love you
and
so
I am a
much,
proud
Vosh.
boy too. So we have that in common. All right, peace.
Yahoo, Vosh. Yahoo.
Okay,
All right.
see ya.